So I'm not really crazy about this, the throw I have it set up to. It is adjustable. This is just like an Amazon cheapy short throw BMW shifter. I've adjusted it all the way in one way that I thought was the shortest setting, but I think I have it set to the longest throw because that's not much of a short throw. It doesn't help that the stick is super long. I actually wouldn't mind if the ball sat like it's here, if it sat right there, honestly. But I'm gonna get underneath it and make some adjustments. So this is the bottom of the, this is like the shift bushing, right? This is where the rod goes through. And what happens is the weld will break here where the stud meets this bushing. It snaps right here. So what you have to do is go in and weld and like reinforce this area here because they did not weld it good. Another flaw is that this is like untreated steel, so it'll rust up quick and in a hurry. So you got to lubricate it, put some grease or oil in here, or else it'll just rust up really quickly. So I had it adjusted to where the rod was all the way threaded in. I had it to where the rod went all the way up into the base of the shifter. I was like, that'll give me the shortest throws, but I think in reality that was the longest throw. So I'm going to have it adjusted to where it sticks down further. And I have no clearance issues with it touching the jock shaft. I was kind of worried about that, but I've got plenty of room here. Even if it's like this, it's not even touching. So I'm going to go in. Let's see, this is where it was. So I could really, how many threads do I want? I think that's a good amount of threads. I'll try that and see what it's like. Yeah, so that's like 10 times better. I'm an idiot. I had it adjusted totally the wrong direction. So I'll do like a before and after of the throw, but this is now after I adjusted it. It's third, neutral, fourth. And the throw is pretty long. I think I made the mistake. That's a much better range of motion. But like I said, I still do want to shorten the shifter. It's just too high for my liking. I would like the ball, the top of the ball to be there. And I think that'll be nice and sporty. But we're moving in the right direction. It's not like driving a truck now. Before it was like first, second, third. I was like, no way, this is actually a short throw. It seemed ridiculous. You know what, man? I'm gonna go ahead and see about chopping down this shifter just a bit. I just want to get it right, man. I'm down to the details right now. I want to do this manual swap and get it 100% exactly how I want it, everything good and smooth before I move on to the next phase, which is going to be engine management, you know, standalone ECU, and then boost. So I want to do this right. I'm going to do one thing at a time. I'm not done with this manual swap yet. I want it to be perfect. So this is probably down to the details, but before it was here, I wanted to sit like here. So let me chop off like an inch off the top of this and see if I can't clamp on this knob. So let me kind of fill you in on what's going on here. I am running into an issue, which is kind of unique to my setup. But if you're running a BMW transmission with a BMW slave cylinder, then this is also going to run into you. So I was having issues with my preload on the shift fork. There's a slave and the rod, right? The rod goes to the fork. It was too long. It was preloading the fork. I had to shorten the distance, the rod, shorten it until it wasn't preloading the fork. And then I was having issues with the pedal going down and disengaging the clutch, with clutch release issues. So it turns out the kit I have is a 3/4 bore master cylinder, which I could have chosen 3/4 or 7/8 bore on the, here's a master cylinder. Basically, you can choose the diameter, basically how chunky this guy is, right? So my kit, I didn't know any better. I didn't know what I needed. So I just opted for the 3/4 because that's like standard. And it turns out it's not enough because the BMW slave just so happens to be a 22 millimeter or 7/8 diameter. And what you kind of want to do is match up the diameter of your slave, right? Which is what goes on the transmission, and your master cylinder, which goes off your clutch pedal. Because, you know, if you're familiar with the hydraulic system works, this goes in and it's going to displace the same amount of fluid on the opposite end on your slave cylinder. Well, if this is 3/4 diameter, it's got less volume of fluid than the 7/8 slave cylinder. So you want them matching, or if anything, you want the master cylinder to be slightly larger than your slave. So yeah, I'm kind of backwards there. Like the 3/4 bore master the smaller the bore on this Master, the easier it is to push the clutch pedal down, but you need a longer stroke. Like, this is how high up the pedal has to be for me to even like slightly get full release on my clutch, and it's just enough to get into gear. It's a pretty long throw, but 3/4, it's easier for daily driving. So 3/4 is typically like a stock setup, you know. It's got real stock like clutch feel. A really long throw though, like I said, you gotta really, there's a lot of travel in there, right? So what I'm doing is I'm upgrading the 3/4 to a 7/8 bore, and hopefully I can get more volume, more fluid coming from the pedal. I can lower the pedal back down. I'll have a shorter travel on my pedal because I'll be moving more fluid with the extra volume that this puts out. But on the downside, the pedal will be a little bit stiffer. But again, it's kind of a trade-off, one of those things you have to live with. I'm not sure if like the CD09s, T56s, things like that, what kind of slave they have on the transmission, or how much master cylinder you need to operate those clutches correctly. But it turns out with BMWs, you need a 7/8 diameter clutch master cylinder. So that's where I'm at right now. Well, here we go, guys. And if you haven't seen this setup in my previous videos, this is a bracket from Heat Lining Speed Shop. Basically, you remove your factory parking brake pedal here, and it bolts up to where that pedal went. So there's two on the inside of the kick panel, and then it reuses a bolt, I believe, that goes, I don't know, somewhere in the firewall back here. So it's got 3 mounting points. It's really sturdy. It's a nice piece because, like I said, it bolts in. It's a bolt-in and like no modifying needed. So I went ahead. The stock 3/4 is still hooked up. This is the 7/8. Look at the difference in diameter. Holy moly. So yeah, this is 3/4 inch bore, and this is the 7/8 bore. So obviously, yeah, we're gonna have a lot more fluid movement. What I'm going to be doing today is wiring up the reverse, Jesus Christ, that music is loud. So I'm going to be hooking up the reverse sensor, and it so happens to be an EV1 injector connector. So this is what I had left over from an LS1 swap I did. And I was like, man, that really looks like an injector plug, right? So I went ahead and tried it out, and sure enough, it's exactly the same connector as an EV1 fuel injector. So I'm going to get this, I'm going to extend it. We're running inside and hook this up to the reverse sensor or reverse lights. And yeah, somebody commented below like, hey, what about the reverse lights? And it totally slipped my mind, but I'm gonna go ahead and wire it up now. So that's step one. Let's extend this harness and hook it up to the signal. All right, so we've officially got reverse lights. I'll show you the connector and pins you gotta mess with. That's reverse. Bam. All right, let's get this car up in the air, and I'll show you how to get access to the signal wires for the reverse lamps. So I got to keep talking, or I'm going to get copyrighted like crazy because there's music in the background. But quick rundown, the connector to the reverse sensor is an EV1 style fuel injector connector. Goes in there, clicks in perfectly. It's literally meant to be. And then for the wiring and the reverse source, you got to use this plug here. This is the same plug that I tapped into to cut 2 wires. I shorted them together. That's going to be your park neutral safety switch, which only allows it to start in park or neutral. Connecting them together allows it to start in any circumstance. And then these 2 wires were the reverse sensor signal wires coming off of what used to be the park neutral safety switch. And it's wires number 2 and 3 right here. 2 and 3. It's red and red blue. This is coming off the connector. This is your reverse lamp signal source. This is what's going to turn on those reverse lamps when you kick the transmission in reverse. And then on the flip side, these 2 wires are the safety switch. cutting these and then shorting them together allows it to start in whatever situation. If you want to get fancy, you can hook it up to a clutch safety switch. But yeah, I need to clean up these wires. I did at least run the wires over the transmission. I didn't want to go underneath and obviously, get in the way or hung up, but I can at least, I don't know, zip tie some stuff. I'm leaving my connectors here just in case. I might just get them out of the way, but you never know if I might need another signal source off of them or if I go back to an automatic trans for whatever reason. So I'm not going to completely kill these connectors. I'm just going to tuck them up out of the way. Comment below if you want to see this car brought back to life. This is my old GS300. I originally had a 5.7 LS1, ended up blowing a rod out the bottom of the block. Went with a 5.3 twin turbo Holly high ram, all the good stuff. I did a burnout contest in this thing, and I basically warped the heads. The sucker got so hot, started leaking coolant between the head and the block, and then I kind of just abandoned it for a little bit. Yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, for this episode. Let's see, so the car still is making a throwout bearing noise. I'm gonna take care of that probably in the next video, and that'll be one of the last minor details to sort out on this manual swap, and I'll be completely done. No bugs, no issues, just ready to go.